Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UE's Liberty, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. The ship had been traveling through space for 3 months now, exploring new worlds far from Earth. Jake loved these quiet moments, when everything was peaceful and the crew was doing their jobs well. The Liberty was humanity's first real deep spaceship. It could travel faster than light and had the best equipment Earth could build. Jake felt proud to command such an amazing vessel. His crew of 50 people came from different countries on Earth, but they all worked together like a family. Doctor Amy Carter sat at her station nearby, studying alien languages on her computer. She was the ship's language expert, and her job was to help humans talk to any aliens they might meet. Amy had learned 12 Earth languages perfectly, and now she was trying to understand how alien minds might think and speak. Lieutenant Ben Hayes worked at the communication station, listening for any signals from space. His equipment could pick up radio waves from very far away. Most of the time, he only heard natural sounds from stars and planets. But sometimes, just sometimes, he found something interesting. Today was one of those days. "Captain," Ben called. Out, his voice excited. "I'm getting something strange here. It's not natural. Someone is sending this signal on purpose." Jake walked over to Ben's station. The young officer had been with the Liberty since it launched, and Jake trusted his skills completely. "What kind of signal is it?" "It's very complex, sir. Much more advanced than anything we use on Earth. The signal is coming from the direction of that star system we plan to visit next week." Ben pointed to his screen, which showed waves of energy moving in strange patterns. Amy Carter looked up from her work. "Can you record it?" "I'd like to study the patterns. If it's a language, maybe I can figure out what it means." "Already doing that, Dr. Carter. The signal has been going for about 10 minutes now. It's definitely not random noise. Someone is trying to talk to someone else." Jake felt his heart beat faster. This could be humanity's first contact with aliens. Everything they did now would be very important. "Chief Engineer Lisa Park, please come to the bridge," he said into his communicator. Lisa Park arrived a few minutes later. She was a small woman with bright eyes who understood technology better than anyone else on the ship. "What's the situation, Captain?" "We've found an alien signal. I want your opinion on our equipment. Can we be sure we're recording everything correctly?" Lisa checked Ben's equipment carefully. She ran several tests and looked at the data on multiple screens. "Everything looks good, Captain. The signal is real, and we're recording it perfectly. This is definitely not from Earth or any human ship." Over the next hour, more signals came in. Some were short, others lasted for many minutes. Amy worked hard to find patterns in the strange sounds and data streams. She had never seen anything like this before. "Captain," Amy said finally, "I think I'm starting to understand some basic patterns. This isn't just random communication. It's structured like a formal report or official message. Someone is giving information to someone else in a very organized way." "Can you tell what they're talking about?" Jake asked. "Not yet, but I'm working on it. Give me a few more hours with this data." Jake made a decision. "Ben, I want you to monitor these signals constantly. Record everything. Lisa, make sure all our systems are working perfectly. Amy, take all the time you need to study these signals. This could change everything for humanity." The next day, Amy called Jake to our small office near the bridge. She looked tired but excited. Papers covered her desk, and her computer showed many screens full of alien symbols and patterns. "Captain, I've made some progress. This language is very different from human languages, but it follows logical patterns. I think I've figured out some basic words and concepts." "What have you learned?" Amy took a deep breath. "The signals are coming from a species that calls itself the Zephyrian Collective. They're talking about different star systems and the planets in them. But Captain, There's something very disturbing about what they're saying. What do you mean? They're not just exploring or studying these systems. They're planning something. The word I keep seeing translates roughly to harvest or collection. And Captain, one of the star systems they keep mentioning has the same basic properties as our solar system. Jake felt cold. You mean they might be talking about Earth? I can't be sure yet, but the evidence is pointing that way. They mention a yellow star with several planets, including one with water and life. They talk about the primitives on this planet and how they're developing technology. Lisa Park had been listening from the doorway. May I see the data, Dr. Carter? Amy showed Lisa her computer screens. Lisa studied the information for several minutes, her face becoming more serious with each passing moment. Captain, Lisa said, slowly, some of these signals aren't just communications. They're technical data, scan results, energy readings, even what looks like surveillance reports. If Dr. Carter is right about them watching Earth, they've been doing it for a very long time. Over the next 3 days, Amy worked almost without stopping. She barely ate or slept, driven by the need to understand what the aliens were planning. Ben kept recording new signals, and the picture became clearer and more frightening. Finally, Amy called Jake to an emergency meeting in the ship's conference room. The senior officers gathered around the table. Jake, Amy, Ben, Lisa, and Commander Alex Turner, the ship's security chief. I've broken their basic communication code, Amy announced. What I've learned will shock you all. The Zephyrian Collective has been watching Earth for over 300 years. They've been doing the same thing to dozens of other worlds. What exactly are they doing? Commander Turner asked. They wait for species to develop space travel and advanced technology. Then they make contact, pretending to be friendly explorers. But their real goal is enslavement. They've captured entire civilizations and forced them to work in their empire across the galaxy. The room fell silent. Jake felt sick thinking about what this meant for humanity. Amy continued. According to their communications, Earth is scheduled for first contact in about 18 months. They're waiting for us to develop faster-than-light travel, which we just did with the ship. Once they decide we're ready, they'll come to Earth with a large fleet. Commander Turner asked. The signals mention over 200 ships. They have weapons and technology far beyond anything we have on Earth. But here's the most important part. They expect easy victory because no species has ever known about their plans in advance. Lisa leaned forward. You mean we have an advantage? They don't know about. Exactly. Every other species they conquered was surprised by the attack. They had no time to prepare or fight back. But we know they're coming. We know what they plan to do. And we have 18 months to get ready. Jake stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, a powerful alien empire was planning to enslave humanity. But they had made one mistake. They had revealed their plans too early. Dr. Carter, how sure are you about this information? Very sure, Captain. I've double-checked everything. The evidence is clear. Jake turned back to his crew. Then we have work to do. We need to get back to Earth immediately and warn everyone. Humanity's survival depends on what we do next. Commander Turner spoke up. Captain, if we tell Earth about this, it could cause panic. People might not believe us. We'll have to make them believe us, Jake replied. Because if we don't, in 18 months, humanity will become slaves to an alien empire. And once that happens, we'll never be free again. The Liberty changed course for Earth that same day, carrying the most important message in human history. The U.S. Liberty traveled back to Earth as fast as its engines could push it. Captain Jake Morrison barely slept during the 2-week journey home. He kept thinking about the alien messages Dr. Amy Carter had decoded. 18 months seemed like a long time, but Jake knew it would pass quickly. When the Liberty reached Earth's orbit, Jake sent an emergency message to the United Earth Council. Within hours, he received orders to land at the secret military base in Colorado. The message was marked with the highest security level possible. President Helen Brooks waited in the underground meeting room when Jake and his senior officers arrived. She was a tall woman with gray hair who had led Earth's government for 6 years. With her stood General Marcus Stone, the head of Earth's military forces, and Dr. Kevin White, Earth's top scientist. "Captain Morrison," President Brooks said, shaking Jake's hand, "your message was very alarming. Please tell us exactly what you discovered." Jake nodded to Dr. Amy Carter, who placed a small device on the conference table. "This contains recordings of alien communications we intercepted. Dr. Carter has translated the most important parts." Amy activated the device. Strange sounds filled the room, unlike any human language. After a few minutes, Amy turned it off and began explaining what the sounds meant. "The aliens call themselves the Zephyrian Collective. They have been watching Earth for over 300 years. They know everything about our technology, our governments, and our military strength. They are planning to invade Earth in approximately 18 months. General Stone leaned forward. "Invade? Are you certain?" "Not invade in the traditional sense," Amy replied. "They plan to arrive pretending to be peaceful explorers. They will offer to share their advanced technology with us. But it's all a lie. Once they gain our trust, they will take control of our governments and make slaves of our entire population." Dr. Kevin White spoke up. "How many other worlds have they done this to?" Amy looked at her notes. "According to their communications, they have enslaved over 300 different species across the galaxy. Some of these civilizations had technology almost as advanced as theirs, but they were all caught by surprise." President Brooks sat quietly for several minutes, processing this information. Finally, she asked, "What makes you certain they're talking about Earth?" Amy showed them a star chart on her computer. They describe a yellow star with 9 planets. The third planet has water, oxygen, and billions of intelligent beings who recently developed space travel. The description matches our solar system perfectly. Chief Engineer Lisa Park added, "I've analyzed their technical data. Some of their scans show energy signatures that match our nuclear power plants and satellite networks. There's no doubt they're monitoring Earth." General Stone asked the question everyone was thinking. "What kind of military force are we facing?" Commander Alex Turner, the Liberty Security Chief, answered, "Their communications mention a conquest fleet of over 200 ships. Each ship appears to be much larger and more powerful than anything we have. Their weapons technology is centuries ahead of ours." The room fell silent. Everyone understood the situation was hopeless if they fought the aliens directly. However, Amy continued, "We have one major advantage. No other species knew about the Zephyrian plans before the aliens arrived. Every previous conquest succeeded because the target species was completely unprepared. We have advance warning." President Brooks stood up and walked to a large world map on the wall. "What do you recommend we do with this information?" Jake had been thinking about this question during the entire trip back to Earth. "We need to prepare, but we must do it in complete secret. If the aliens suspect we know about their plans, they might attack immediately instead of waiting 18 months. Dr. Kevin White asked, "What kind of preparations are you suggesting?" Lisa Park opened her briefcase and pulled out several technical diagrams. "During our study of their communications, we found weaknesses in their technology. They rely heavily on automated systems and computer networks to control their ships and weapons." "What does that mean for us?" General Stone wanted to know. "It means we might be able to disrupt their technology if we develop the right tools," Lisa explained. "They've grown overconfident after centuries of easy victories. Their security systems aren't designed to handle enemies who understand how they work. Amy added another important point. Their psychological profiles show they expect primitive species to be afraid and confused during first contact. They count on fear and amazement to make conquest easier. But if we can pretend to be surprised while secretly preparing to fight back, we might catch them off guard. President Brooks returned to her seat. This plan would require incredible coordination. We would need to keep the truth secret from almost everyone on Earth, while simultaneously preparing for war. It's our only chance, Jake said firmly. If we announce the threat publicly, it will cause worldwide panic. The aliens might detect the chaos and attack early. But if we work in secret, we can use their own strategy against them. Over the next several hours, they developed a basic plan. Dr. Kevin White would lead a secret research project to develop new weapons and defense systems. General Stone would quietly prepare Earth's military forces without revealing the real reason. Amy Carter would continue studying alien communications to learn more about their weaknesses. President Brooks would coordinate with world leaders to redirect resources toward the secret preparations. They would disguise military spending as peaceful research projects and space exploration programs. Most importantly, they decided to set up communication networks with resistance movements on worlds already enslaved by the Zephyrians. Ben Hayes would use the Liberty's advanced communication equipment to try to contact these hidden rebel groups. 3 weeks later, Ben Hayes made contact with a group calling itself the Liberation Network. These were survivors from various enslaved worlds who had managed to avoid Zephyrian mind control programs. They had been waiting for centuries for someone to fight back against their captors. The first message from the Liberation Network shocked everyone. A voice speaking broken English said, "We thought no species would ever learn the truth before conquest. You are our first hope in 300 years." Amy worked day and night to improve communication with the rebels. She learned that many enslaved species still had small groups of free individuals hiding on their home worlds. These rebels had been studying Zephyrian technology and society for generations, waiting for a chance to strike back. The rebels shared crucial information about Zephyrian military tactics and technology. They confirmed that the aliens had one major weakness. They had never faced organized resistance from a prepared enemy. All their strategies assumed they were fighting confused and terrified primitive. Dr. Kevin White used this intelligence to begin developing what he called surprise weapons. These were devices that looked primitive but incorporated advanced technology based on Zephyrian vulnerabilities. The weapons would appear harmless to alien sensors, but could cause massive damage to their ships and equipment. Lisa Park worked with teams of engineers around the world to build hidden defense systems. They disguised military installations as civilian buildings and research centers. Weapons platforms were built to look like communication satellites and space stations. General Stone faced the most difficult challenge. He had to prepare Earth's military without letting most soldiers know what they were really preparing for. He organized training exercises that looked like routine drills, but were actually practice for fighting an alien invasion. The preparations had to be perfect. Every detail mattered because they would only get one chance to surprise the Zephyrians. If their deception failed, humanity would face certain enslavement. As months passed, the secret preparations expanded across the entire planet. Scientists, engineers, and military personnel worked on classified projects without knowing the full truth. Only a small group of leaders knew about the alien threat. Amy continued monitoring Zephyrian communications. The aliens showed no sign of suspecting Earth knew about their plans. They continued their normal surveillance activities, confident that humanity remained unaware of the coming conquest. President Brooks often met with Jake and his team to review their progress. The burden of keeping such an enormous secret weighed heavily on everyone involved. They were preparing for the most important battle in human history, and failure meant the end of human freedom forever. But as the months passed, Jake began to feel something he hadn't expected: hope. Humanity was proving itself capable of incredible coordination and determination. If they could maintain their deception for a few more months, they might actually have a chance to defeat an enemy that had never known defeat. 14 months remained before the Zephyrians would arrive at Earth. Dr. Kevin White stood in a secret laboratory deep beneath the mountains of Switzerland, surrounded by the most advanced equipment humanity had ever built. Teams of scientists from every country worked around the clock on projects that would have seemed impossible. Just 1 year ago, Dr. Kevin held a small device in his hands that looked like a simple metal box. Inside this box was technology that could disrupt the quantum fields that powered Zephyrian ships. The rebels from enslaved worlds had provided the theoretical knowledge, but human engineers had found ways to make it work with Earth's limited resources. Dr. White called out his assistant, Dr. Nancy Green. The test results from the orbital platform are ready. Kevin walked to the main computer terminal where Nancy displayed the data. The numbers were better than he had hoped. Their quantum disruption weapons could penetrate Zephyrian shields and disable their power systems. The aliens would expect to face primitive nuclear weapons and chemical explosives. Instead, they would encounter technology that attacked their ships at the most basic level of physics. Meanwhile, Chief Engineer Lisa Park supervised construction projects in space stations around Earth. The work had to be done very carefully. Zephyrian surveillance equipment monitored everything humans built in space, so the defense platforms had to look completely innocent. Captain Rodriguez, Lisa spoke into her communicator. How is the progress on Platform 7? Captain Maria. Rodriguez was building what appeared to be a research station for studying cosmic radiation. In reality, it contained 12 quantum disruption cannons and enough power to destroy a Zephyrian battleship. We're ahead of schedule, Lisa. The disguise is perfect. Even our own people think we're building a science station. Lisa smiled. This deception was working all across Earth's orbital space. Dozens of fake research stations, communication satellites, and space factories were actually hidden weapons platforms. When the time came to fight, Earth would have more firepower in space than the aliens expected. Admiral Jake Morrison, now promoted to lead Earth's space fleet, watched the construction from the bridge of his new flagship, the U.S. Guardian. The ship looked similar to the old Liberty, but it contained secrets that would shock the Zephyrians. Hidden weapon systems, quantum disruption generators, and communication equipment that could coordinate attacks across the entire solar system. Admiral called his new communications officer, Lieutenant Carol Swift. We're receiving another message from the Liberation Network. Jake walked to Carol's station. Over the past year, contact with the rebel groups had become regular and detailed. They provided constant intelligence about Zephyrian fleet movements and military tactics. More importantly, they had begun coordinating their own preparations for simultaneous uprisings across the galaxy. The message today came from a species called the Carathians, who had been enslaved for over 200 years. Their hidden rebels had built secret weapons and were ready to strike when Earth gave the signal. Similar messages arrived daily from dozens of other enslaved worlds. Dr. Amy Carter had become the main contact person for these communications. She had learned parts of 17 different alien languages and could coordinate complex plans with rebel groups across the galaxy. Her small office had become the center of the largest resistance movement in galactic history. Amy, Jake said, as he entered her office, what's the latest news from our allies? Amy looked up from her screens, which showed star maps with marked positions of rebel groups. Very good news, Admiral. We now have confirmed contact with resistance movements on 43 different worlds. They're all preparing for coordinated attacks when we engage the Zephyrian fleet here at Earth. How many total rebels are we talking about? It's hard to get exact numbers, but we estimate at least 50 million individuals across all the enslaved worlds. Most are hidden in remote areas or disguised as loyal workers. When they strike simultaneously, it will completely overwhelm Zephyrian security forces. This was the key to their entire strategy. Earth alone could never defeat the Zephyrian Empire, but Earth plus rebellions on dozens of worlds might succeed. The aliens had grown lazy after centuries of easy control. They never expected coordinated resistance across their entire empire. General Marcus Stone faced the most difficult part of the preparations. He had to train Earth's military forces for a type of combat they had never imagined, while keeping most soldiers unaware of what they were really preparing for. His solution was brilliant in its simplicity. "Attention all units," General Stone announced during a training exercise in Australia. "Today, we practice defending against technologically superior enemies using unconventional tactics." The soldiers thought they were training for war against other human nations with better equipment. They learned how to fight from hidden positions, how to coordinate surprise attacks, and how to use simple weapons against advanced technology. Without knowing it, they were becoming experts at fighting aliens. The training worked perfectly. Earth's military became skilled at the exact tactics they would need to defeat the Zephyrians. The aliens expected humans to fight like typical primitives, using direct attacks with obvious weapons. Instead, they would face an enemy that specialized in deception and surprise attacks. President Helen Brooks coordinated the global effort from her secret command center in Washington. Every major world leader knew about the alien threat now, and they all contributed resources to the preparation. Countries that had been enemies for decades worked together like close friends. "Mr. President Shun," Helen spoke to the leader of China during their daily secure video conference. "How is the progress on your underground facilities?" "Excellent, President Brooks. We have completed bunkers for 200 million people. If the initial battle goes badly, our populations can survive underground for years while we continue fighting." Similar conversations happened with leaders around the world. Underground cities, hidden weapons factories, and secret communication networks were being built everywhere. If the Zephyrians managed to take control of Earth's surface, humans would continue fighting from below. But Helen hoped it wouldn't come to that. The secret preparations were going better than anyone had expected. Humanity was proving itself capable of incredible things when working toward a common goal. Ben Hayes had been promoted to lead Earth's intelligence operations against the aliens. His job was to monitor Zephyrian communications and make sure they didn't suspect anything unusual was happening on Earth. This was perhaps the most important job of all, because discovery would mean immediate attack. "Dr. Carter," Ben called to Amy from his monitoring station. "The aliens are sending more detailed scans of our major cities. They're definitely preparing for occupation." Amy studied the alien communications Ben had intercepted. The Zephyrians were making final preparations for their arrival. They had even chosen which human leaders they planned to keep as puppet rulers, and which ones they planned to eliminate. "They're still completely confident," Amy reported to Admiral Morrison. "Nothing in their communications suggests they suspect. We know about their plans. They expect to arrive, make their fake peaceful contact, and take control within a few weeks." This confidence was exactly what humanity needed. The longer the aliens remained unaware, the better Earth's preparations could become. Every day of deception meant stronger weapons, better training, and more coordination with rebel allies. Dr. Kevin White's team had made another breakthrough in their quantum disruption technology. They discovered they could modify existing human electronics to interfere with Zephyrian control systems. Every computer, every smartphone, every electronic device on Earth could become a weapon against alien technology. Lisa, Kevin explained to Chief Engineer Park during their weekly meeting, we can turn the aliens' own surveillance against them. When they try to take control of our communication networks, we'll feed them false information while using their own systems to coordinate our attacks. Lisa understood immediately. So while they think they're monitoring human activities, we'll actually be controlling what they see and hear. Exactly. We can make them believe their conquest is proceeding normally while we prepare the final surprise. As the months passed, humanity's secret preparations reached incredible levels of sophistication. Weapons that looked like civilian equipment, soldiers trained for alien combat who thought they were preparing for human enemies, and a global coordination network that could function even if all normal communications were destroyed. The Zephyrians continued their normal surveillance, completely unaware that the species they planned to enslave was preparing the most elaborate deception in galactic history. In just a few more months, they would discover that humanity was not the primitive species they expected to conquer easily. The day humanity had prepared for finally arrived. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the U's Guardian, watching through the main screen as hundreds of alien ships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. The Zephyrian fleet was massive and impressive, exactly as their intercepted communications had described. Admiral, Lieutenant Carol Swift reported from her station, we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet. They're requesting permission to approach Earth for peaceful first contact. Jake nodded calmly, though his heart was beating fast. Everything they had worked for during the past 18 months would be decided in the next few weeks. Put me through to President Brooks immediately. On Earth, President Helen Brooks sat in the White House Situation Room, surrounded by her top advisors. They had practiced this moment dozens of times, but now it was real. The most important performance in human history was about to begin. Mr. President, her secretary announced, the alien commander is requesting a direct communication with you. Helen took a deep breath and walked to the communication screen. When it activated, she saw a tall, thin creature with gray skin and large, dark eyes. This was Supreme Commander Vexter of the Zephyrian Collective, though Helen pretended not to know his name or his true intentions. Greetings, the alien said in perfect English. I am the leader of a peaceful exploration fleet from a distant star system. We have traveled many light years to meet your species and offer friendship between our peoples. Helen made her face show amazement and excitement, just as she had practiced. This is incredible. We never imagined we would meet beings from other worlds. Welcome to Earth. I am Helen Brooks, leader of the United Earth Council. We bring gifts of advanced technology and knowledge, Vexter continued. We would like to establish diplomatic relations and cultural exchange programs with your world. We would be honored, Helen replied, trying to sound overwhelmed with gratitude. Our people have dreamed of this moment for centuries. The alien commander seemed pleased with her response. Everything was proceeding exactly as it had on hundreds of other worlds they had conquered. The primitive humans were reacting with the expected awe and excitement. Over the following days, the Zephyrian ships moved closer to Earth. Admiral Morrison commanded the human fleet that went out to meet them, but he made sure his ships looked clumsy and primitive compared to the sleek alien vessels. Admiral, his tactical officer commander Ryan Clark whispered, their weapons are targeting our ships. They're ready to destroy us if we show any signs of hostility. Perfect, Jake whispered back. Let them think we're helpless. Remember, every human life depends on making them believe we're just amazed primitives. The meeting between the human and alien fleets looked like a friendly encounter between advanced explorers and primitive locals. Jake played his role perfectly, acting impressed by alien technology while secretly studying their ship designs and weapon systems. "Your vessels are amazing," Jake told Commander Vexter during their first face-to-face meeting aboard the alien. "Flagship, our simple ships seem like toys compared to your advanced technology." Vexter looked pleased. "Your species shows great potential. With our guidance, you could advance your civilization by thousands of years in just a few decades." What the alien commander didn't know was that Jake's simple uniform contained recording devices that were studying every detail of the alien ship. Dr. Amy Carter and her team would analyze this information to find final weaknesses in Zephyrian technology. Back on Earth, the public reaction to first contact was everything the aliens expected. News broadcasts showed people celebrating in the streets, scientists giving excited interviews about the possibilities of alien technology, and world leaders expressing gratitude for this wonderful opportunity. But behind the scenes, the real preparations were reaching their final stage. Dr. Kevin White's quantum disruption. Weapons were now hidden in every major city on Earth. General Marcus Stone's military forces were positioned and ready, though most soldiers still thought they were preparing for routine exercises. The Liberation Network sent constant updates through secret communication channels. Rebel groups on 43 different worlds were ready to begin simultaneous uprisings. They had been waiting for this moment for centuries, and now their freedom depended on Earth's success. Dr. Carter, Ben Hayes reported from his hidden monitoring station. "The aliens are beginning Phase 2 of their standard conquest protocol. They're offering to share communication technology with our governments." Amy nodded grimly. She knew from studying their previous conquests that this communication technology contained hidden control systems. Once installed in human government buildings, it would allow the Zephyrians to monitor and eventually control all of Earth's leaders. "Tell President Brooks the deception needs to continue for exactly 72 more hours," Amy said. "After that, we'll be ready to spring our surprise." President Brooks played her role brilliantly over the following days. She welcomed Zephyrian advisors into government buildings, accepted their communication devices, and even agreed to let them establish a permanent embassy in Washington. To the aliens, everything was proceeding normally. What they didn't know was that Dr. Kevin White's team had modified every piece of alien equipment before it was installed. The devices would work normally until Earth was ready to fight back. Then they would become weapons against their creators. Chief Engineer Lisa Park monitored the alien ships from her secret command center. The Zephyrians were moving their vessels into positions around Earth, preparing for the final phase of conquest. They expected to announce their true intentions within days and take control of human civilization without firing a shot. "Lisa," Admiral Morrison called from his ship, "are all our orbital platforms ready?" "Every single one, Admiral." The aliens think they're surrounded by harmless research stations and communication satellites. They have no idea they're actually surrounded by the most powerful weapons humanity has ever built. The next phase of the deception was the most dangerous. Zephyrian ground forces began landing on Earth, supposedly to establish cultural centers and technology-sharing facilities. In reality, these forces were preparing to take control of major cities and government centers. General Stone watched alien troops march through the streets of major cities around the world. The aliens carried advanced weapons and wore protective armor, but they moved casually, expecting no resistance. They had done this same operation hundreds of times before. All units maintained position. General Stone commanded his hidden forces. "Do not reveal yourselves until the signal is given. Remember, the entire future of humanity depends on perfect timing." Meanwhile, Dr. Amy Carter made contact with the Liberation Network for the final coordination meeting. Representatives from dozens of enslaved worlds participated in the secret conference, planning the largest coordinated rebellion in galactic history. The Zephyrian fleet at Earth contains exactly 237 ships, reported a rebel leader from a world called Nexus Prime. Our intelligence indicates they have deployed most of their mobile forces for this conquest. If we can defeat them here, the remaining forces will be too scattered to maintain control of their empire. Another rebel from the world Karatha added, "Our underground weapons factories have produced enough quantum disruption devices for all rebel groups. When Earth gives the signal, every enslaved world will simultaneously attack Zephyrian control centers." Amy felt the weight of responsibility. Billions of beings across the galaxy were counting on Earth's success. If humanity failed, not only would Earth be enslaved, but hope for freedom would die throughout the galaxy. On the final day of the deception, Supreme Commander Vexter requested a global broadcast to address all of humanity. President Brooks agreed, knowing this would be the moment when the aliens revealed their true intentions. The broadcast began with Vexter speaking to cameras in the United Nations building. Behind him stood other alien officers and human leaders who thought they were witnessing a historic moment of peaceful cooperation. "People of Earth," Vexter began, his voice reaching every corner of the planet. "The time has come to tell you the complete truth about why we are here." Helen Brooks maintained her expression of respectful attention, though she knew exactly what was coming next. "Your species has reached the level of development where you can serve a greater purpose in the galaxy. The Zephyrian Collective will now assume responsibility for governing your world and directing your civilization toward more productive activities." Around the world, people watched in shock as the alien commander revealed his true intentions. But in secret command centers, military bases, and hidden weapons platforms, humanity's real leaders smiled grimly. The moment they had prepared for had finally arrived. The deception was over. Now the real battle would begin. The moment Supreme Commander Vexter finished speaking, President Helen Brooks pressed a hidden button on her desk. Across the Earth and throughout the solar system, a simple message went out on secret communication channels. "Freedom Dawn. Admiral." Jake Morrison smiled as he received the signal aboard the U.E.'s Guardian. "All ships, drop the pretense. Activate all weapon systems. Today, we fight for the freedom of every being in the galaxy." The transformation was immediate and shocking. Human ships that had looked primitive and clumsy suddenly revealed hidden weapon ports and advanced defense shields. The quantum disruption cannons that Dr. Kevin White had spent months perfecting emerged from concealed positions. "What is happening?" Supreme Commander Vexter demanded as his ship's sensors detected the sudden appearance of massive weapons. Signatures around Earth. Admiral Morrison opened a communication channel to the alien flagship. "Commander Vexter, this is Admiral Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. We know who you really are. We know what you've done to hundreds of other worlds. Your days of enslaving innocent species are over." The alien commander's face showed complete shock. In over 300 conquests, no species had ever known about Zephyrian plans before the revelation moment. His forces were positioned for occupation, not for battle against a prepared enemy. "Impossible," Vexter whispered. "You are primitives. You cannot have this technology." "You're about to learn how wrong you are about humans," Jake replied. All ships opened fire. The space around Earth erupted in brilliant flashes of light as humanity's hidden weapons platforms activated simultaneously. Quantum disruption beams struck Zephyrian ships with devastating effect. The alien vessels, designed to fight primitive kinetic weapons, had no defense against attacks that disrupted their basic power systems. Chief Engineer Lisa Park watched from her command center as 12 alien battleships lost power and began drifting helplessly through space. Direct hits on their primary fleet units. Their shields are collapsing exactly as Dr. White predicted. On the surface of Earth, General Marcus Stone gave the order his forces had been waiting 18 months to hear. All units, engage the enemy. Show them what humans can do when we fight for our freedom. Across every continent, soldiers emerged from hidden positions and attacked Zephyrian ground forces. The aliens had expected to face confused and terrified primitives. Instead, they found themselves fighting highly trained warriors who knew exactly how to exploit alien weaknesses. In London, Captain David Price led his squad against a Zephyrian control center. The aliens' advanced armor meant nothing against quantum disruption grenades that shut down their life support systems. "Move fast," David shouted to his soldiers. Dr. White's weapons work exactly as promised. Similar battles erupted in New York, Tokyo, Moscow, and dozens of other cities. Everywhere the pattern was the same. Alien forces, caught completely off guard, found their superior technology useless against weapons designed specifically to counter their advantages. But the most important battle was happening in space. Admiral Morrison's fleet pressed their attack against the alien ships, using tactics no Zephyrian commander had ever encountered. Human vessels moved in coordinated formations, supporting each other while focusing fire on individual targets. "Admiral," reported Commander Ryan Clark, "enemy flagship is trying to retreat. Should we pursue?" "Negative. Let them run back to their empire and spread the word. Humanity is not a species that can be enslaved easily." Dr. Amy Carter coordinated the most crucial part of the entire operation from her communication center. As the battle raged around Earth, she sent the signal that rebel groups across the galaxy had been waiting for. "Liberation Network, this is Earth Control. Operation Freedom Dawn is active. Begin all planned uprisings immediately." The response was immediate and overwhelming. On 43 different worlds, enslaved populations rose up simultaneously against their Zephyrian masters. Hidden weapons that rebels had built over decades emerged from secret locations. Communication networks that the aliens thought they controlled were turned against them. On the world of Karatha, rebel leader Zexmerl, a CTIVAD, quantum disruption devices in the planet's main control center. For 300 years we have waited for this moment. Today we reclaim our freedom. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. On Nexus Prime, rebels destroyed the massive computer systems that controlled the planet's enslaved workforce. On Deltara, hidden fighters attacked the orbital stations where Zephyrian governors lived in luxury. The coordination was perfect. While the Zephyrian fleet at Earth fought desperately against humanity's surprising resistance, their empire was collapsing from within. Every world they had conquered was simultaneously rising up using the same quantum disruption technology that Earth had shared with the rebels. Supreme Commander Vexter watched in horror as reports poured in from across his empire. "This is impossible," he said to his bridge crew. How could primitives organize such a massive rebellion? His tactical officer provided the answer that chilled Vexter to his core. "Commander, analysis of their weapons indicates they have been preparing for this battle for at least 18 months. They knew about our plans before we arrived." The full scope of the disaster became clear to the alien commander. Not only had humanity tricked his entire fleet, but they had used the time to organize the largest rebellion in galactic history. Everything the Zephyrian collective had built over centuries was crumbling in a single day. Dr. Kevin White monitored the battle from his underground laboratory, watching as his quantum disruption weapons proved decisive across multiple star systems. "Lisa, our technology is working perfectly. The aliens' automated systems are completely helpless against coordinated disruption attacks." Ben Hayes provided constant intelligence updates as he intercepted panicked Zephyrian communications from across the galaxy. "Dr. Carter, their command. Structure is collapsing. Local commanders don't know whether to retreat, fight, or try to negotiate surrender. The battle for Earth's orbital space was reaching its conclusion. Admiral Morrison's forces had destroyed or disabled over half the alien fleet. The remaining ships were either retreating or requesting permission to surrender. Admiral, Lieutenant Carol Swift reported, "We're receiving surrender requests from 37 alien vessels. They're asking for terms." Jake considered the request carefully. Humanity had won the battle, but the war for galactic freedom was just beginning. Accept their surrender, but make the terms clear. All enslaved worlds will be freed immediately. The Zephyrian Collective will face trial for crimes against sentient beings, and they will provide full reparations to every species they have enslaved. On Earth's surface, the last Zephyrian forces were surrendering to General Stone's soldiers. The aliens who had expected easy conquest found themselves prisoners of the species they had planned to enslave. President Helen Brooks addressed the world from the White House, with captured alien officers standing behind her as proof of humanity's victory. Citizens of Earth, today we have not only defended our freedom, but we have broken chains that have bound hundreds of worlds for centuries. Supreme Commander Vexter, now a prisoner aboard the UES Guardian, requested a final meeting with Admiral Morrison. The proud alien commander looked defeated and confused as he spoke to his human captor. "How did you know?" he asked quietly. "In 300 conquests, no species ever discovered our plans." Jake sat across from the former commander, feeling a mixture of satisfaction and pity. "You made one mistake, Vexter. You underestimated humanity's ability to work together when we face a common threat. You also forgot that sometimes the hunter becomes the hunted." Dr. Amy Carter's communication center buzzed with messages from newly liberated worlds across the galaxy. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were free again, and they all wanted to thank the humans who had made it possible. "Admiral Morrison," Amy called over the communication system, "I'm receiving requests from 43 different worlds. They want to establish a new galactic alliance based on cooperation instead of domination." Jake smiled as he looked out at the stars through the Guardian's main window. The galaxy was about to become a very different place. The age of Zephyrian slavery was over, and the age of galactic freedom was beginning. A month later, President Brooks stood before the newly formed Galactic Liberation Council, addressing representatives from hundreds of freed worlds. "The Zephyrian Empire is finished. Working together, we have ensured that no species will ever again face the threat of galactic slavery." The applause from hundreds of different species filled the great assembly hall. Humanity had not only saved itself, but had become the catalyst for freedom across the entire galaxy. The slaver's fate had indeed been sealed the moment humanity learned the truth.